Welcome back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Hey, Meredith. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Good to be here with you.
I'm very excited for this episode. I think this is my favorite episode of every season. Not because of how much work I have to put in beforehand, because I get a little bored going through all these bios, but I'm excited to meet all of these new people and welcome them into our lives.
I think that this is my least favorite episode because I'm forced to look at the bios of, we have 32 young ladies vying for the heart of our bachelor, Matt James. Did I get that right?
Yes, that is his name.
And they're all very young. They're all very pretty girls. It's very difficult for us to sit here and judge them, but I guess that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, that's what the job is. We can't really complain about that. There are definitely worse jobs in the world.
Well, I don't feel good about it, but I'm here and I force myself to read the very skimpy bios that we have about these young ladies. And what are we supposed to do today?
So we're going to go through all 32 women and talk about them, and then we're going to decide who we think the villain will be for the season, who we think will get the first impression rose next week, and who our top four are and who our winner is amongst those top four. So we have a lot to get through, and I have to redeem myself today because last season for Claire and Tayshia, I did not do well on my top four pick, and I did well for Peter's season, though, so maybe I'm just better at picking women and you're better at picking men because that's what we're familiar with.
That could be it, and I feel like I don't know. I think I can be more judgmental of men than women. I think being judgmental of women has the opportunity to get me in big trouble. So I have to be. I don't want to get in trouble. I want to be. I want to be the good dad.
Well, I feel like the average age of these women for Matt are roughly my age, maybe a little bit younger. So I feel like I'm just really in this. This is me now, and I feel very comfortable judging all of them.
So if someone was going to wager on which one of us would do better, I would be getting odds. They would if they bet on me, they would get a better payoff than if they bet on you.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, well. And can I just say that as I was going through this and I was making notes on my little computer here, these girl names were breaking my spell checker. I don't know where these strange names come from, but none of them really show up well on the spell checker. Very few of them.
Not only did I go through the bios, but Chris Harrison had a 30-minute long video where he introduced all the women and gave his little fun fact about them, and he pronounced each of their names. So I kind of typed out some pronunciation help for us. So hopefully that'll get us through. Chris
Harrison is a pro. He's been rising in my estimation throughout watching the show. So I'm starting to have a real affection for Chris Harrison.
That's great. I'm glad. Hopefully he's here for the long haul and isn't leaving us anytime soon.
Like Ed from last season, I'd just like to hang out and have a beer with Chris Harrison. I think we'd get along swimmingly.
Well, we'll make that happen.
Okay.
Should we get started?
Please.
Okay. So first, we're going alphabetical order, just like they do on the bios on ABC's website. We may comment on some appearances. So if you want to look at these women's pictures, what we're commenting on is all on ABC's website.
And when we looked at the men last time, I was able to come up with categories like underwear model and nerd or various things.
And he's been recommended not to use the category of underwear model for women that are his daughter's age.
I'm refraining from categorizing women today.
Yes, so that's probably for the best. Let's get started. First, we have Abigail. She's 25 years old, just like me, from Beaverton, Oregon, and she's a client financial manager. And she's the first person who's ever been on the show that has a hearing impairment. She loves Calvin Harris, quote, because his beats slap. Obviously, as a Taylor Swift fan, I cannot be a Calvin Harris fan also. So I do have some mixed feelings there on Abigail. Her favorite way to approach a guy is by accidentally bumping into them. I don't really have any other hot takes on Abigail. I thought she was very meh.
No hot takes. She enjoys a good local brew, which I appreciate. I think it said that she's into golfing. I guess I'm looking for some sort of athletic connection to our bachelor guy who was a former football player, but nothing, no strong vibes here.
Okay. Next we have Elena. She's 26. She's from Toronto, Canada. She's a photographer. And instead of the traditional college path, she moved to Europe and enrolled in different programs throughout the continent and moved to Toronto on a whim. She thinks that she's the queen of puns, and her dream job would be working as a restaurant critic for Michelin restaurants, which I think is pretty cool. Overall, I think Alana seems like a pretty cool girl, someone I would be friends with. That's kind of how I like to judge the women. I'm like, is this someone that I think that I would want to hang out with? And I do think I would hang out with her. I do not think she has the look of a top 4 girl, though. So I don't think she's top 4 material.
I wrote that I like puns, so that intrigued me a bit, but not enough to say she was top 4 material either. I mean, she seems very pretty. She seems nice. I like her. She seems adventurous, which I think the fact that she moved to Toronto on a whim, that might help her in a show like this where you never know what's coming at you. But nothing strong there to say you're going to be in the final 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, next we have Alicia, 24 years old, from New York, New York, and she is a professional ballerina. She dances for the prestigious Dance Theater of Harlem. I may seem a little uneducated. I do not know that much about dance or ballerinas, so I will have to take their word that the Dance Theater of Harlem is prestigious. Never heard of it. She once performed on stage with Aretha Franklin, and my old college roommate actually knows her. They used to dance together for like a summer, some dance camp thing, I think is what I understood. So I did ask her for her hot takes on Alicia, and she said that she was very nice, does not see her starting any drama. So stay away from her as your villain pick.
Interesting. Her ultimate date included shopping, which to me was sort of a turnoff.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. So that sort of made me feel like I'm not sure that a guy's going to embrace that as an ultimate date. And ballerina, you got to be very driven. You got to be very focused. I'm wondering why she wants to be on this show, but I wonder that about many people, but not someone that jumped out at me as a top 4.
I do feel like the girls from New York City, though, do have a leg up since that's where Matt James currently lives or pre-COVID lives. So that could be helpful.
I went back and forth on that, in that I didn't know if he might want to meet someone with some different background. Obviously New York City. There's so much going on there, so you can be there in a different part of the city, and it seems like a different country. But
it's easier to get across New York City than it is to get across the U.S. to Los Angeles.
Well, they're all getting to this resort in Pennsylvania, so they can figure it out.
Okay. Amber is 30 years old from Costa Mesa, California, and she's a nursing student. I believe she's our only single mother on the show with a 13-year-old son. And if you do the math there, 30 minus 13, that is 17 years old when she became a mother. Her dream job would be to take care of beluga whales because they, quote, just make her so happy. Her dream is to live on a big ranch somewhere near a lake surrounded by trees and to rescue every animal she comes across that needs a home. So I do not see Amber and Matt being compatible at all.
I agree, and we talked a little bit. Her picture on the website seemed to me like she was trying to come off a little bit too sexy. I didn't like it.
It kind of reminded me last season when we did these picks, and I chose Bennett as my villain simply because of his face. that was the vibe I was getting from Amber. I was like, you have an evil face in this picture. But that's not the only reason I don't see Amber and Matt being compatible. I don't think Matt's ready to become a stepfather to a 13-year-old boy while he's 28. And I also don't see Matt wanting to relocate to a ranch to become Dr. Doolittle and adopt every animal that he sees. It's just, that's not the Matt James vibe that I get.
Well, I've not really gotten much Matt James vibes except for the trailers I've watched where he seems like to wander around a lot and chop wood without his shirt on. So, he does seem to want to be out in the woods somewhere. I don't know. But I agree with you that going on the show and finding a potential bride is a big enough step to say I'm also going to be the father of a teenager. That's an enormous step and probably one that you would not expect him to want to take.
Yeah, and so when I was watching Chris Harrison introduce all these women, Chris said that instead of saying, excuse me, the first night, like, excuse me, can I get a glass of wine? She likes to meow.
Well, you're trying to find a way to stand out on this program, and perhaps meowing is one way to do it.
I think that she has the potential to be a first night boot.
Well, and just taking a step back, the guy's meeting 32 women the first night. And he's got to remember names. Candy's, blonde girl, have a rose. Brunette girl. I don't know how they do this. It sounds awful to me. I think we've had this discussion that this cocktail hour on the first night runs from
the whole night,
sundown until sunrise.
Yes.
So.
I think it'll be easy for him to distinguish, though, what girl is meowing instead of saying, excuse me, and to send her on her way.
Well, so I suspect sometimes he gives roses on that first night. I think people might give roses to people just because they remember their names. I didn't really speak to you much. Unfortunately, I don't know your name, so I'm not giving you a rose.
Okay, well, we don't need to go into how they remember their names again, but they do take breaks during the rose ceremony to go back and learn 3 more names and then come back out, hand out those 3 roses.
I did not know that. But anyway.
I think we've discussed it before, but we can move on.
I can barely remember your name half the time, so let's go. Let's move on.
Okay, Anna is 24 years old. She's from Chicago, Illinois. She's a copywriter.
We're still in the A's, by the way.
Yes, we're still in the A's. She grew up in a small town in Minnesota where she was the cheerleading captain. Her dream guy must enjoy doing puzzles with her, and I quite enjoy that. Mom and I like doing puzzles. You and my brother, Ben, you guys will not do puzzles with us, so it's strike one on both of you. She's terrified of fish and obsessed with cheese. I wouldn't say I'm terrified of fish. I really don't like them. So I understand her sentiment and I respect the cheese obsession. I've said it before. I'll say it again. We're a big cheese family.
We are a big cheese family. She was a high school cheerleading captain, which, to me, maybe there's a football connection there. But
yeah,
not sure I'm ready to. I'm not all there yet with Anna.
Well, she dreams of writing screenplays for Hallmark movies, so I feel like she's just going to be she's going to really romanticize this whole process, and I think she really has what it takes to thrive on The Bachelor.
Okay, well, I don't know if that's foreshadowing one of your top 4, but probably not for me. But let's move ahead.
Okay, next is Bree. She's 24 from San Francisco, California. She's a communications manager. She was raised by her mother and grandmother, which we also know that Matt was raised by a single mother, so they have that in common. And she works for a high-profile social media company that will remain nameless, apparently. Do we have any guesses as to what we think it could be?
I don't even know who the social media companies are.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
We call those the high-profile social media companies? Okay. And she's in San Francisco? Mm-hmm. Well, it could be any of those then, yes.
She is always the alpha in the relationship, but wants to find someone who can challenge her and keep life interesting and exciting. I think she seems like a cool, chill girl that I would also be friends with.
Yeah, and that it said that she outworks people. She doesn't embarrass easily, which I think would be characteristics that would help her do well on this show. I have her as a potential Final Four candidate.
I do as well.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Carolyn, 30 years old from Los Angeles, California. She's a journalist. She likes post-punk music. I'm not really sure what that is. I'm familiar with pop punk, though. I'm a big fan of that, but I'm not sure what post-punk is.
Pot punk?
Pop
Punk. Okay.
Yeah.
Who is part of that genre?
Like All American Rejects, Dirty Little Secret, that kind of vibe.
Okay.
Check yes, Julie. You don't know what I'm talking about.
I've heard of All American Rejects.
Okay. So that's what I'm familiar with. I'm not sure what post-punk music is. In 5 years, Carolyn hopes to have published her first novel, and Chris Harrison told us that she's been engaged twice. So...
And a couple of characteristics, I think, she's fiercely independent and a serial monogamist, which to me are red flags for this show. I put down bad combo, could be lots of drama, villain ?
Interesting. She does have a tattoo sleeve, if I'm not mistaken, and I feel like that's a bit bolder than what we're used to on this show. You see a lot of pageant queens, you don't see a lot of tattoo sleeves. So she could really rock the boat.
Yeah, kids today. Let's go.
Cassandra, 25 years old from Newport Beach, California. She's a social worker. She is working towards getting her master's, or has a master's degree in social work. She's scared of the dark, hates when people eat food off her plate, and sunflowers make her very happy. I thought we got a very basic bio, not much to mention, like not much going on, which I think means she could make it pretty far. They're not giving her any like embarrassing things, trying to throw her under the bus and be like, look at this idiot. Like it's just very neutral, not anything that people are going to get riled up over.
Okay. Well, I like you, I didn't really see much there to be able to rate her. The fact that she's into social work, it sounds like Matt James, some of the work that he's doing in New York is very philanthropic. So I thought that maybe there's a connection there, but didn't give me a strong feeling either way.
Okay. Next is Chelsea. She's 28 years old from Brooklyn, New York. She is a runway model. She quit her full-time job in corporate America to become a model, and is currently learning Spanish online. Chris Harrison said that, a lot of models have come through the show, and he said, air quote, models, like Instagram swipe up kind of models. But he said that Chelsea is the real deal. Like she's in New York Fashion Week, like actual runway model, and that she's 6 foot tall. But Matt James is 6'5", so there's still a good difference there. But she's going to be towering over the other women for sure.
And I think she had the very short hair thing going on, which
very high fashion.
That's very high fashion. Yeah, did I tell you I'm thinking about quitting my full-time job to becoming a model as well? Yeah, can someone just do that? Is it easy to do?
Yes, very easy.
Okay. Again, to me there wasn't a lot there to work with. It's nice that you're learning Spanish online. I think that's great. Didn't do much for me. Okay.
Next we have Corinne. She's 22 from Pomfret, Connecticut. She's a marketing manager, but she is doing the marketing for a family business at a high-end Italian restaurant. So I read that, and my first question is, how much marketing is done for Italian restaurants? And then Chris Harrison answered my question. He said that her job is to reply to all the Yelp reviews.
So she's really not got a job, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting.
Yeah, okay. Well, and she's 22, and to me, she was just a very nice young lady, but too young.
Okay, well, she loves her life in Connecticut and wants someone to be an addition to her already wonderful world. However, she wants to experience life living in New York before she has kids. And she also loves Disney World and has been there more times than she can count. So my hot take about a Disney obsessed adult is red flag. I think that they should be avoided at all costs when looking for potential mates, because I find it very weird that adults are obsessed with Disney. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll watch new Disney movies when they come out. I was a big fan of Frozen when it came out, but I'm not one of those people that's like, every single vacation, I'm going to go to Disney World. I'm going to buy the Mickey ears for every single occasion that happens. Like, it just seems weird to me. And I don't think that Matt James wants a Disney adult.
And I'll just go back and say she's too young. So
yeah, she is only 22,
and not someone that I would assume is a real candidate for being there at the end, unless Matt has a real hankering for high-end Italian food.
All right, next we have Imani. She's 25 years old from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and she's a realtor. She's the kind of woman who would want to go to a sophisticated jazz bar over a baseball game. So she and I would not get along. When asked if she could be anyone else for the day, Imani said she would be herself because she's, quote, pretty cool.
Gotta like that confidence.
I think it's cool that, she's got the self-empowerment and confidence going on, but I can think of so many people I would rather be for a day than myself.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem.
I don't think it is. I think it's just taking advantage of the opportunities that you're given. You're telling me, Imani, you wouldn't rather be like Taylor Swift or Channing Tatum, Kim Kardashian, like someone super rich, have a fun day?
I'm with you. I'm sure I could think of a few people that I'd like to be for a day. I like the fact that she does solo dance parties in her bedroom. You never know when a dance party might break out, particularly on The Bachelor. But again, not a lot there that made me think that she's going to be a contender.
I agree. Okay, next we have Ileana. She's 25 years old from New York, New York, and she's a health food developer, which my first question is, what is a health food developer? But apparently she's recently co-developed her own nutritional snack called, quote, Funky Monkey Energy, and has big dreams of making a name for herself in the health food world. Apparently, Chris Harrison said this is like an energy ball that you can eat. I looked it up on Instagram, and it's not actually being sold until 2021. So
perhaps this is a good way to get that name out there.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. She has an orange tabby cat named Sir Theo who goes to the bathroom like on a toilet and wears a bow tie.
A little too fancy a cat for my taste, but okay.
You're lucky to get the cat to go in the litter box these days.
I know.
I didn't really have any hot takes on Ileana. She seems a little high maintenance if she's making her cat go to the bathroom and the toilet. I think she's going to be upset when Matt James misses every once in a while.
Yeah, well, you left the toilet seat up again, Matt James.
My cat fell in.
That's right. That could be a problem. The fact that I did put New York connection could be beneficial, but I like cats. We have cats. We have a cat and a dog. I like cats and dogs, but it just seems a little strange that you get your cat to use the toilet. Or perhaps I'm just envious of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there is that New York connection, and Matt has the ABC Food Tours, which is aimed at helping underprivileged kids learn about like healthy eating and exercise. So as a health food developer, that could be a good connection, but I don't really see Matt going for a girl that's potty trained her cat.
I'm with you.
Okay, next we have Jasenia. She's 27 years old from San Antonio, Texas. She's a social media marketer. Former pageant queen, was Miss El Paso in 2016. She loves escape rooms and hopes to live in France for a year. I have no strong feelings on her.
I don't really either. I put she seems to check the boxes, but didn't really give me a strong feeling either way. And and another one that spell check doesn't really like the way she spells her name.
Yeah, Chris Harrison had to tell me how to pronounce that. That's Jasenia, I believe. Next we have...
Let's just call her Jess.
Next we have Kylie. It looks like it's spelled Kaylee, but Chris Harrison pronounced it Kylie. 26 years old from Chicago, Illinois. She's a hostess. She's dyed her hair every color in the book, which doesn't seem like Matt James' type to me. She tripped on stage getting her diploma at high school graduation and dreams of competing in an ultra marathon, which I had to Google what that meant, was just a marathon that's longer than a regular marathon. I don't think she's Matt's type. I do believe that we watched a preview of Matt's season that came after Tayshia's premiere or finale, and there was some drama about being a sugar baby. And I based off what Chris Harrison is saying, I do believe Kylie is our sugar baby. Do you know what a sugar baby is?
I have some thoughts, so I'm going to ask you, what is a sugar baby?
So it's the baby to the sugar daddy. It's the girl that's getting all the money for who knows what from this old man. Her companionship.
I mean, you're not suggesting she's doing anything illegal. She just prefers to be taken care of by a dude.
Yes, they're just. I believe there'll be some drama over whether or not she's a sugar baby or something more or something like that.
Okay. Well, I didn't have strong opinions. I did note that she was athletic and self-deprecating, which I thought were two characteristics that might help her on the show, but didn't really envision her as as a potential winner.
All right. Okay. Next, we have Katie. She's 29 years old from Renton, Washington. She's a bank marketing manager. Her idea of a fun date is going skinny dipping. She would love to host her own talk show one day and once planned a dog flash mob that got a huge turnout. I don't know what that means because in my head that means dogs are synchronized dancing, which our dog would not be capable of doing. She can't even get off of a carpet without some issues. So that I would like to ask Katie what that means.
Well, I was intrigued by Katie in that she claims to be a witty storyteller. She wants to host a talk show, which to me sounds like she'll be good with the cocktail dates and that sort of things. Good with that sort of thing. So I was intrigued with her and envisioned her as a potential contender.
Yeah, I thought her bio seemed like pretty bland, but she's a pretty cute girl, which means that she could go far in the show.
Yeah. No, I've got my eye on her.
Yeah, she's a top 4 option for me.
Me too.
Next, we have Kayla. She's 28 years old from Durham, North Carolina, which we know that Matt James is from Raleigh. So if you're from North Carolina, you know that Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area, the Triangle, very popular. She's a healthcare advocate. She lives for a good tailgate and only likes camping if she's glamping. So I think she and I might be twins. I feel like I connect with her, and you just gotta love a Carolina girl.
I think there's a potential connection there. They'll have something to talk about from their North Carolina roots, and we know that Matt James played he was from Raleigh, but he also played football in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, at Wake Forest University. So I see a potential connection there. So she's on my short list as well.
I agree. Next, we have Kimberly, 28 years old from Seattle, Washington. She's an airline recruiter, and she does not like cats, so she will not like Sir Theo and his potty-trained bow tie wearing.
They're not going to date, though. So that's okay. She doesn't like cemetery dates.
Yeah, do you know anyone that does like cemetery dates?
I will say that I enjoy cemeteries, but I don't see them as places for dates. I find them very peaceful, and the right cemeteries I think can be very beautiful. But
I find them very haunted.
Well, you don't go at night. You go during the day, during a nice day.
Okay, well, I'm gonna disagree there. I don't think I would enjoy any cemetery dates, night or day. She isn't afraid of anything, I guess, except the cemetery and finding out that a guy she's into has a foot fetish, which I feel like is very specific, so it might be coming from a personal experience. And Moana is one of her all-time favorite movies, which, as I've already said today, Frozen Frozen's better.
I wonder how you deal with the foot fetish thing early in your relationship. It's like, hey, before we get serious, just want you to know, no foot fetishes.
I think it should be her limo entrance. Get out of the limo and be like, look, Matt James, you got a foot fetish? Tell me now. I'll get back in that limo. I'm heading out.
That would be a bold move.
Yeah. She seemed like kind of quirky and interesting to me and cute. I had my eye on her for top 4.
Yeah, I was rather blah on her, so I don't know.
I enjoyed her hair.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look at that picture.
Okay, next we have Kit. She's 21 years old, our youngest contestant. She's from New York, New York, and she is a fashion entrepreneur. When Chris Harrison did his introduction of the women, her job title was socialite, so they've updated that. Her mom is a well-known fashion designer, and she was born and raised in the West Village. Chris Harrison said that she is the most fashion-forward contestant they ever had, that she had trunks of dresses shipped to Nemacolin, just like had a great outfit for everything since her mom's a fashion designer.
It sort of leads one to believe she might be around for a while.
Well, I mean, to me, that sounds like she's making it through at least night 1. But I don't know. She is still finishing her last year of undergrad at NYU. I'm not really sure how she's doing that, and also being on the show since you can't have a phone or computer or book. Sounds like she took a semester off. She hasn't had a serious relationship since high school.
But that wasn't that long ago.
Which wasn't that long ago. She can surf in high heels, which I don't know what that means.
A lot of surfing in New York, but go ahead.
And men in flip-flops make her mad, which I agree with. I don't think men should wear flip-flops. That's a new dad law.
You number 1, dad law number 3 is you don't make dad laws, and I think flip-flops should be acceptable at the beach.
At the beach, okay, but any other time, no.
I'll consider that.
So my hot take on Kit is that she's too young, which I don't think is a hot take.
Yeah, I wrote down she's 21, lives at home. Her parents really must want to get her out of the house and said, why don't you go do this show because we really would like some private time and we're tired of you being in our house.
Fair. I can see Kit making like top 8-ish, not top 4 material. Because she'll get kind of far, and then people will be like, she's too young. She's not here for the right reason. She's not serious. She can't settle down. And then Matt will send her on her way. But I think she's very pretty. She's probably very well-mannered, well-dressed. Like, Matt will probably be intrigued by her.
I don't see her as a serious Final Four contender. I sort of see her going home earlier. I question the maturity level. But which is not. I'm sure
she is a socialite, very mature.
Okay, well, we'll see.
All right, next we have Kristen, 27 years old from Virginia Beach, Virginia. She's an attorney, which we love a woman with an impressive job. She's always up for karaoke and loves to belt out a classic Disney song. She doesn't like to share food unless both parties have previously agreed upon it. And she's really big into oral health.
Well, and also she says that the bio says that she is a party starter, which to me means high energy, which I think also might help her stand out on this show. So to me, she sort of seems like marriage material. So I gave her a pretty high rating here.
Okay. I didn't find her that interesting. I liked the attorney, but the rest of it, could take it, could leave it. Next, we have Lauren, 29 years old from Miami, Florida. Corporate attorney, so we have 2 attorneys back to back. She's terrified of lizards and frogs, which I believe there are a lot of those in Florida.
Yeah. So
she might just be living in constant fear. She lives for the Christmas season and loves 2000s hip hop.
Yeah, she characterizes herself as a Florida girl through and through, which I don't see that as a positive thing. So I was not that high on her.
Okay. Well, I've been to Miami. I quite enjoyed my trip there. Maggie is next. She's 32 and she's from Ethiopia. She is a pharmacist and she moved to the U.S. after she won the Diversity Visa Lotto, which Chris Harrison made sound like it's actually a lottery that she won to move to the U.S., but I think we're going to get the full background story from her. She runs a nonprofit that supplies shoes to the girls back in her hometown. Growing up, she loved to play ping pong, which I know you like playing ping pong. And the best surprise she ever received was 2 front row tickets to a Beyonce concert.
She has an very interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
She came across to me in her little bio as probably being rather naive, very nice but naive. And to me, she might stay around for a little bit because of her backstory, but I don't see her as being in the Final Four.
Yeah, I can see her as like a top 10. She'll be there through like half of the season, but I don't see her as top 4 either. Next, we have Mari, 24 years old from Odenton, Maryland. She's a marketing director. We have a lot of marketing employees, individuals on the show this season. She moved to Maryland from Puerto Rico as a teenager. She is a pageant girl. She was Miss Maryland in 2019 and placed top 10 at Miss USA in 2019. She plans to get her boating license, and visiting an elephant sanctuary in Thailand is at the top of her bucket list.
To me, she's a little too close, not very removed from her pageant days. The fact that she was Miss Maryland USA 2019, and we're sitting here in late 2020, beginning of 2021, little close there for me. So I don't really see her as I'm getting married right now. And I was intrigued by getting a boating license. We live near a lake, and it looks like, if you have an open can of beer, they'll give you a boat to ride around here. I don't know what one needs to get a boating license in Maryland. Hopefully it's a little bit more than where we are.
Yeah. Well, for the pageant stuff, Matt James is good friends with Hannah Brown, who was Miss Alabama. So I feel like he has friends in the pageant world, but I feel like he probably has enough friends in the pageant world. He's like, I dip my toes in this pond and I don't need to go back there. So I don't see it ending well for Mari.
We better pick up the pace before they throw us out of the studio.
Okay, Marilyn, 28 years old from Studio City, California. She's an event coordinator. She loves Disneyland. Again, red flag. Hopes to start a nonprofit that helps the environment reduce and eventually eradicate single-use plastic, which is cool.
I wrote that the mom would approve.
Yeah, I approve of that too. That's great. I don't see her as top 4.
I don't either. I put blah, blah, blah.
Next, MJ, 23, from Hudson, Ohio. She's a hairstylist. She loves disco music and a good spicy margarita. The best trip of her life was camping in the Sahara. And I think she might be too cool for Matt.
It says that she can't handle people who aren't on time, and I wrote this could be a problem with this show because I got to think that
yeah, there's a lot of waiting around.
Yeah, there's a lot of waiting around. A totally unfair comment on my part. She is a hairstylist, which just sort of felt not as impressive as some of the other things that some of the people on the show are doing.
Claire Crawley is a hairstylist too, though. Hairstylists can do well in Bachelor Nation.
Okay. I'm not a big fan of Claire Crawley anymore, but go ahead.
Piper is 23 years old from Happy Valley, Oregon. She's a graduate student pursuing a master's degree in marketing. She is very into European cars and wants to own a Rolls Royce one day.
Don't we all?
Loves her grandma and calls her Graham Cracker, and doesn't like picnics because the idea of sitting on the ground and eating is not appealing to her.
There could be other things that happen in this show that might not be appealing to her as well. So but you better relax there a little bit, Piper. But she's 23 years old. I just thought that she was probably too young.
Okay. So you're like young to acceptable cutoff is 23 to 24?
I don't know, 24, 25, I don't know. Matt's 28. I'm just thinking that probably 24 is the cutoff.
Okay. Well, Rachel is 24. She's from Cumming, Georgia. And she's a graphic designer. She hates slow drivers, very neat with organization and cleanliness, but messy with plans and schedules.
Favorite way to pass the time is doodling. I suspect she'll be doing a lot of doodling. It seems like you're going to be sitting around these cocktail parties for hours, going back and forth between wine and water to avoid getting hopelessly drunk, and she'll be doing a lot of doodling, I would think.
It's a good thing that she loves it so much.
Southern belle, Southern sweetheart. I just wonder if she would be ready for New York City.
I know quite a few Southern sweethearts that have moved to New York City and have done quite well.
Okay.
Next, we have Sani. She's 25 from Denver, Colorado. She's an IT consultant. She's swam with the sharks in South Africa, has been inducted into the University of Florida Hall of Fame for outstanding leadership, service, and academic achievement. She completed her first marathon at 16 years old and had a pet parrot for most of her life.
To me, she's a contender. She's athletic. She
is intelligent.
I wonder if she knows Tim Tebow at the University of Florida. How many people are in the University of Florida Hall of Fame?
I don't know, but she's only 25, which is my age. I don't think that Tim Tebow and I overlapped in college.
Okay. I think she's a contender.
I do too. I think she could go far. Next, we have Sarah, 24 years old from San Diego, California. She's a broadcast journalist, a trained fire dancer. Her personal superhero is Oprah Winfrey, and she dabbles in photography as a hobby. I didn't have any hot takes on Sarah.
Her resume seemed a little hollow to me.
Next, we have Serena C., 24 years old from San Francisco, California. She is a flight attendant, and nothing makes her happier than putting together the perfect outfit. She's not a fan of birthday attention, and her favorite food is chicken wings.
I'm not a big fan of my favorite date is getting all dressed up for a fancy night out. I'm more of a relaxed kind of guy. Yeah, I have no idea what Matt James prefers, but to me that was probably not someone that's going to be there at the end.
I can think of a lot of things that make me happier than putting together the perfect outfit.
Yep.
Serena P., 22 years old from Toronto, Canada. She's a publicist. She's chronically hangry, which, for those who don't know, is a combination of hungry and angry. She would like to have a pet chicken so that she could have a pet and an endless supply of eggs, all in one. And learning how to change a tire is at the top of her bucket list. I was amused by her bio.
To me, there was a red flag in her bio in that she enjoys beers at a low-key bar or sitting courtside at Toronto Raptors games. And I'm all for low-key bars, but how is she getting courtside tickets to the Toronto Raptors games?
Maybe she's also a sugar baby.
Maybe. Yeah, getting courtside tickets at an NBA game pretty expensive.
Even if it's in Canada?
Toronto won the NBA title just a couple of years ago. I got to think those are expensive tickets.
Well, I don't pay attention to the NBA.
Well, trust me.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Sydney is 28 years old from Nashville, Tennessee. She's a marketing specialist. Amusement parks creep her out. I don't like that. She's embarrassed to admit it, but growing up, she loved the Twilight books. She's allergic to avocados. I think she could go far. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the Nashville thing, or admitting you like Twilight. I think everyone liked Twilight growing up, but I could see Sydney doing well.
See, my take on her, she's strong and opinionated. She hates awkward dinner conversation. I put that not a good fit for this show. The fact that she's strong and opinionated, in my view, makes her a potential villain.
Speaking of potential villain, we have our last girl, Victoria, 27 years old, from Los Angeles, California, and her job title is Queen Victoria. I'm not sure why she's Queen Victoria. The rest of her bio seemed pretty normal to me. Has launched a few businesses in the health and beauty space, which is very popular amongst Bachelor contestants. The light of her life is her golden doodle Coco, and her biggest turnoff is a man who can't keep his room clean, which I agree. Having a clean room is very important, guys.
Well, so she's hoping to see Matt's room, I guess, but she's got a big personality, no filter, which she loves about herself, and she plans to be very forward in her pursuit of Matt. This sort of screams potential villain to me.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be more amusing than villainous. kind of like a Corinne from Nick Viall's season. You probably won't be familiar with it, but she really liked to take naps and slept through a rose ceremony, things like that.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, she'll be more amusing than just plain mean.
Well, to me, she's a potential villain, but I think that they're trying to get us to assume that she's the villain right off. And to me, it was almost over the top. This must be the villain, so I'm thinking she's probably not the villain.
I agree. I think that we're going to have a soft spot for Victoria.
I'm not so sure we'll have a soft spot for Victoria, but I don't see her winning this either.
Okay, so we've gone through all the women now. We just discussed some potential villain picks. Who do you have as your villain pick for Matt James' season?
Well, the two that I had as probably the highest on my villainy list were Victoria, the Queen, and Sydney, the strong and opinionated, hates awkward dinner conversation person. And because I think Victoria is too easy a call, I'm going to go with Sydney, the marketing specialist from Nashville, as my villain.
Interesting. So my villain is Corinne. Let me find my notes on her. She's the one that does marketing for her family's high-end Italian restaurant. So she replies to Yelp reviews. I feel like she could be kind of sassy with her replies to Yelp reviews. I also just like her picture, something about it. And it's like, I think you're going to be mean.
I don't think Corinne's going to last through the first night.
Oh, really? Okay.
Unless you're cheating and looking at the
Did you cheat? Spoiler. Do you know something that I don't know?
I do not.
She's a Disney adult, you know. She's gonna have some spice to her. Okay. Next, who do you think the first impression rose will be going to?
Yeah, to me, this is like an impossible task of figuring out who the first impression rose is going to go to. And you know, I sort of went to my list of people that I think are potential winners, and I ended up with actually 5 in my top 4, so I'm going to have to off one of them. So I guess I'm going to give one of them the top the first impression rose, and go with the rest of them as potential winners. So I'm going to go with I've obviously given this much thought. Kristen, who is the party starter, high energy person, to get the first impression rose.
Okay. The attorney, interesting. Really big into oral health. I don't see it.
Well, I have no idea.
Okay. Well, my first impression rose is going to Anna. Anna is the girl that likes doing puzzles with her man, terrified of fish, obsessed with cheese, grew up in a small town in Minnesota where she was the cheerleading captain, wants to write screenplays for Hallmark movies. I think she's really going to romanticize the first night, and I think she's going to hit it out of the park.
No. Okay. Well,
she's got what it takes to thrive this season.
Okay. That sounds as good a guess as any.
Okay. Top 4 time.
Okay.
Who is your first top 4 pick?
So my first top 4 pick is Bree, the communications manager from San Francisco, raised by the mom and grandmother. Usually in alpha in relationships, but wants someone that would challenge her. I mean, to me, she just seems like potential marrying material.
You know, I also picked Bree in my top 4. I think that she's going to do really well. She and Matt have that in common, that they were both raised by single moms. Working for a high-profile social media company is pretty impressive. And I just think I could be good friends with her. I think that she seems like a cool, normal girl.
Okay.
Right. Who's your next pick?
My next pick is... I'm probably not saying this probably right. Kayla from Durham, North Carolina. And you know, she enjoys a good tailgate. He was a football player, so I expect they probably share something there. And just the whole geography thing, I'm thinking the North Carolina connection the fact that she's 28, I'm going to go with Kayla.
So I also chose Kayla too. Hopefully we have some picks that are different at some point, but I think that Kayla being from Durham, Matt being from Raleigh is going to be helpful. I'm curious to know out of the triangle who Matt and Kayla both like. You know, if this is like a UNC Duke couple, that might not work. But I do think that Matt might enjoy having like a hometown girl around, and I could see it working.
Okay.
Who do you have next?
My next one is Katie.
Okay.
Who is the one that is the witty storyteller, wants a man who can laugh along with her, but she's okay with the man laughing at her too. And she's the one that wants to have the talk show and just sort of feel like she's got the potential to thrive on the show as well.
You know, I had her in my considerations. I think that's a good pick.
But you didn't pick her.
I did not pick her, no.
Who's your next pick?
My next pick is Sani. She is the 25-year-old from Denver, Colorado, the IT consultant, swam with sharks in South Africa, inducted into the University of Florida Hall of Fame. She just seems very well-rounded, very pretty girl, and I think that Matt James will take notice.
Well, interestingly, that was my last Final Four pick, was Sani, and that she just seems to have excelled in many things, and I think that she'll stand out in the end, so I also chose Sani.
Okay. My last pick is Cassandra. She's a 25-year-old from Newport Beach, California. She's a social worker, master's degree in social work. She had like a very basic, bland bio, which I think means that she could go far. They're not, trying to embarrass her or anything. Social work could, have some type of connection to Matt James's nonprofit with ABC Food Tours. I wasn't super confident in this one, but something was just like calling me to her.
Okay.
So we have one difference in our top 4 picks. So it's very possible that we're both going to do very well.
or not.
Or not. So who is your overall winner pick? I'm hoping we don't have the same one.
Well, why don't you go first, because I have a couple and I don't know one more than the other, and I'll pick one that's not the one that you pick.
Okay, well, mine is Bree.
Okay.
I really liked her. Raised by the single mother, working for the high-profile social media company, being an alpha, but wanting someone that can challenge her. Like, I think that Bree is going to win Matt's heart.
I think that's very possible. I'll go with Sani, the Hall of Famer from the University of Florida.
Okay.
So that's that. Although I could see Bree, I could see Katie. I don't know. I felt more comfortable when we were doing the Bachelorette and looking at the guys.
Well, I think it's promising that we picked similar people.
Okay.
So that wraps us up for our pregame podcast. Next week we get to start the fun. Matt James season is starting.
I know, and the silly first episode is so exhausting of these people coming out of limos and trying to remember who's who. So it'll be a long show. I feel for Matt. I feel for all these people having to go through this 12-hour cocktail party. So good luck. Good luck to them. Good luck to us watching it.
Well, there you have it. Join us next week as we talk about the official start of Matt's season from the right perspective and my dad's.